guys, Leanne here on Grady's Mom with Cooking Series Volume 24. So one of my favorite all-time soups, most of you guys might know this, is the Olive Garden Zuppa Toscana soup, which is their white soup. And for years, I had been making that soup a copycat version just on the stovetop. But pretty recently, I discovered a way that I could make it in the crock pot. So I Googled Toscana crock pot options, and there were several different variations, very similar. So one of the main things is a lot of people use spicy sausage, but I have found a way to get a little bit of heat without using the spicy sausage. So let me go ahead and show you first what is in this recipe. So again, this is Cooking Series Volume 24. This is going to be the Olive Garden Zuppa Toscana soup, but in the crock pot. And it comes out delicious. I've made it a couple times. This is probably going to be my third time making it in the crock pot. I find this way just as delicious as on the stovetop, but a whole lot easier. And right now, it's the weekend before Christmas. We have a ton going on here. So I'm just looking for convenience right now. So I thought I would share this recipe with you guys. So the thing that I use in this recipe is the Jimmy Dean regular pork sausage. On a lot of the recipes for the crock pot version I've seen online, it calls for a spicy sausage or a hot sausage. If you want to use that, that's absolutely fine. But I just use the regular pork sausage, and then I spice it up with red pepper flakes, which I'll get to in a moment. You're also going to need some kale. You're going to need a 32-ounce thing of chicken broth. You're going to need some half and half. Online it also says you could use heavy cream, but I use half and half, and I've had plenty of success with it, so I just use the half and half. You're going to need an onion. You're going to need 4 medium potatoes. You can use regular white potatoes or red potatoes like I'm using here. You're going to need some garlic. I have this kind of chopped up, ready to go garlic. You can also use fresh garlic. Either one would be perfectly fine. I'm going to use some bacon. These are just the Oscar Mayer real bacon recipe pieces. You can also use bacon that you cook off yourself. You'll just have to chop it up small. And then the red pepper flake is what gives it a little bit of heat for me, which I like better than using the hot spicy sausage. But again, it's just a personal preference. And then lastly, you're going to need flour to thicken up the half and half towards the end. So this soup is sort of a two-step process. So I'm going to start by getting my sausage meat cooked up. While that's cooking, I'm going to slice the potatoes and the onion. And then we are not going to put in the kale or the half and half until the last half an hour. So everything is going to go in, and then the last half an hour, we're going to throw in the kale. We're going to mix the half and half with the flour to thicken it up. And that is just how simple it is. So let me go ahead, get this into a frying pan and get my potatoes and onion chopped up, and we'll start the process here. Okay guys, so I have my sausage browned up, as you can see, so that's waiting on me. I have my 4 medium potatoes sliced up. I sort of did like a half moon shape with this consistency. And then I actually decided to do half of an onion because this onion was very large. When I made this recipe the past couple times, I used a smaller onion, so that's why I used a whole onion. So you could use 1 whole medium onion or like a half of a large onion. This was a large onion. So I've got the potatoes and the onions ready to go. I just have to get my garlic, my red pepper flake, my bacon, and everything into the crock pot, and let me show you guys how to set this up. Okay, so crock pot. We're gonna get our potatoes and our onion in first. Just like that. Now this makes a good amount, guys. My husband and I can eat this easily 2 nights in a row. So I've got the potatoes and onions in. Next I'm gonna get in the cooked sausage. Like that. Grabbing a spoon. I'm gonna do a couple teaspoons of this crushed or chopped garlic. So I'm gonna do 1, 2 teaspoons of that right on top. I'm going to do, I use my cap from my red pepper to measure the pepper. I'm gonna do about that much, guys, which is about, I don't know, ½ teaspoon right on top. I'm going to get my bacon bit pieces open. This is a 2.8 ounce bag, and I'm going to use the whole bag. Obviously, we don't want the flavor thing in there, so I have the bacon on there. Let me go ahead and grab my chicken broth. Chicken broth, 32 ounces, right over top of all of this. I am not going to add any salt or pepper, mainly because I don't think it needs salt and I don't think it needs pepper, but that is completely your call. If you are going to add salt and pepper, I would recommend waiting until the end. So the broth is in. I'm going to just use my teaspoon here to just stir everything around and kind of gauge and make sure everything is covered, because we want the potatoes to cook. We don't want them to be hard. So I'm going to stir everything around, again, just to gauge and see if I need a little bit more liquid. It's cutting it close, but I think I can make this work. If you're finding that your potatoes aren't covered in liquid, you might want to go ahead and add just a splash of water, because you want to make sure your potatoes are covered, not necessarily submerged, but just covered with liquid so that they cook. So this looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cook this on high for 3 to 4 hours, and the last half an hour we are going to add in the kale, the heavy cream, or the half and half mixed with the flour, and bring it all together. So I will see you guys in about 3.5 hours. Alright guys, so we have about 31 minutes left, and I'm going to go ahead now and I have my kale ready. It's about 2 cups. It's always hard to tell with kale because it's so bushy. But what I did was I measured out 2 cups and I pushed this down to make sure it was right at that 2 cup mark, because it'll wilt down a lot. It's not going to stay like this. It's going to wilt very quickly and a lot. So next we're going to work on making the soup creamy. So here I have a cup of half and half. Now the recipe online that I saw, some of them called for heavy cream. So I've never done it with the heavy cream. I'm assuming it's great because people reviewed it as being great. But I had half and half already, so I figured why not just use that the first time I made this, and it came out just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and get some flour into the half and half so I can thicken that up, and then we're going to add that mixture to the crock pot. Alright, so I have my half and half here. I'm going to go ahead and get 2 tablespoons of flour in. I'm going to stir that into the half and half. Hopefully you guys can see this. So you're just going to work that in together the best you can until it's as dissolved as it can be. So this will be what thickens that soup and makes it creamy. There will be some lumps, but do your best to just stir it really well. And most of the lumps are just going to go ahead and dissolve right into the crock pot when it hits that. Alright, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and get this mixture and the kale into the crock pot. Okay, this is as close as I can get without fogging up the lens, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and get my kale in first. Now, as always, kale will look like a lot, but this is going to wilt right down. Next, I'm going to get my flour and half and half mixture in. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my wooden spoon. And I'm gonna mix this all together. And immediately the soup is turning from a clear broth, you know, the chicken stock broth, to the white broth. So let me go ahead and stir this really well, and I'll show you what it looks like before I pop the lid back on. Okay guys, so that looks pretty perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and put the lid back on. And I have it on high. And I'm gonna let it cook for another 26 minutes. And it should be good to go. So I will show you what it looks like when it's all done and we plate it up. Okay guys, so we are all done. And looks really good. Just like Olive Garden's, and I'm gonna go ahead now, let me get some bowls and plate this up and show you guys the yumminess. Okay, so we're ready to dig in, and it does make a lot, even after 2 big bowls. There's still quite a bit of soup left, so definitely gonna be 2 meals, which is never a bad thing. So as always, I will have the recipe that I followed that works best for me linked down below, and hope you guys will give this one a try. It's a really easy alternative rather than making it on the stovetop, and a really, really good hearty soup for a busy day, which we are all having this time of year. So hope you guys enjoyed. Have a great day, and I will see you very soon. Bye guys.